On this Memorial Day weekend, we would like to honor our heroes with a preview of the upcoming Lakeway Area Heroes Project, Episode 1, presented by the Friends of Panther Creek State Park. Memorial Day is more than a day of cookouts, more than a family day on the lake. Memorial Day is a foremost thank you for those who paid the price for the service of our country. We honor all, we remember the fallen, and as an appreciative nation celebrates, take time to appreciate those who gave it all.
I'm Jackie Williams. Was in the U.S. Army, the 101st Airborne Division. I was in there from later part of '69 till '77, and took most of my training up north in Fort Dix, Fort Lewis, and Fort Campbell. Didn't want no Tennessee boy down in the South because they knowed we'd cause too much trouble down in there. And when I went to Vietnam, I went to Fort Ord, California, and flew out of the Air Force Base there because of the protesters and things at the civilian airports. But on my way over, I have to say that I did get drunk as a dog. And then when we come into Saigon, they were trying to knock us out of the air with mortars. The Viet Cong was. And we was landing down the runway, and you could look out the window and you could see the mortars exploding on each side of the plane because they couldn't ever get it zeroed in right. And then we finally got off the plane and found a hole and jumped in it. But from there, I went up to the DMZ in the Ashall Valley, separates the north from the south. I carried the M60 machine gun. I was part-time door gunner on the Huey helicopters. And I climbed the mountains up there, I was from Tennessee, mountain boy. They said, you'd be good to climb the mountains for us, so we did. And I went through Ashall Valley and through the big shadow of death up there. And when I come back home in the medevac. I come all the way from Camp Zama, Japan, or from Cameron Bay to Camp Zama, Japan, to Alaska, Chicago, Walter Reed, where they spit all over me, the doctors and the nurses and the interns. And then I told them plainly, if I could get up out of here with this big old cast on me, I'd probably stomp you. But I said a few other choice words I ain't gonna say now because I don't believe in saying them no more. And then I done my recuperation for about a year, and I give them a little bit more of my civilian time. Then I wound up in Fort Lewis again. Then I wound up in Germany, over there guarding the wall over at in Berlin. And from there, I come back to Fort Dix, New Jersey, smack the first sergeant and come home.
Good morning, I'm David Rutherford. I was a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force. I joined the Air Force in January of 1969. My first duty station was remote in the Pacific on Wake Island. I got to see the beautiful sights of that 6 square mile piece of sand out in the Pacific. During that time, I was guarding aircraft, particularly gunships on the way to Vietnam. We were taking 119s and AC-130 gunships to Vietnam. Upon return, while I was on wake, I was on the protocol security area, so I had a chance to carry the folks from the USO shows. The gentleman that I got to know fairly well was George Jessel. Georgie Jessel was in the early vaudeville, then he was a songwriter, a producer, and was in movies. He was the only person that I got to know. I've left there, went to Northern California to the Air Defense Command. We had Alert 105 jets that had alert nuclear weapons, and that then sent me in my nuclear career to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to the Armed Services Weapons Center, which is a multi-unit. I had worked with the Defense Atomic Support Agency, and we were guarding all of the nuclear weapons that weren't dispersed in the United States. I enjoyed my time in the service, and it was a pleasure for me to serve. Thank you.
My name is Marvin Gillum. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1969 to 1973. I joined the Marine Corps after being drafted in the Army and decided I needed to get an education. So they put me in the Air Wing, and I learned a great deal during that time. During that time, I served aboard the U.S. Coral Sea, an aircraft carrier. We went to Vietnam and served in the Tonkin Gulf for about 6 months. I stopped in Da Nang for about a week in Da Nang, and a memory that I have during that time, I remember leaving out of California and walking down the street in Alameda, California. And there were protesters on both sides calling us names and saying foul things and spitting at us like we had something to do with the war. I never will forget that. And after that, after coming back from Vietnam and being discharged from the Marine Corps, I put away my uniform and just went to work and never mentioned it or talked about it, and until joining the Vietnam Veterans of America here at Chapter 1073 in Morristown. And I've found a lot of new friends, and we've done a lot of work in the community. And there's one thing I've noticed about veterans, that the whole country can take away a lesson from veterans. It doesn't matter your race, religion, where you served at, or what you did while you were in the service. When veterans come together and meet, all you see is handshakes, hugs, slaps on the back, and appreciation for each other. And the country could take a great lesson from that.
Hey, my name's Harry Cleon Quare. Call me Cleon, I hate the Harry. Started out when I was 16, I was in the infantry, high school. We had training at Camp Outerbridge, Indiana. Turned 18, I didn't like marching, so I joined up in the Army Air Corps. Ended up in Chinook Field, Illinois, in a maintenance squadron. From there we traveled across the pond to Japan. Spent 24 months there. I was a staff sergeant. In 1949, we got up in the hills of Japan. I don't know where it was, but they cracked up an airplane. It was our problem to put it back together or take it apart so they could ship it back to the base. So I was cutting it up. I was away in the welders, and I caught fire, in other words, them. So they got me out of that one. So we got it on the flat car, and we'd tied it down, but when we got ready to get it back to base, there was more stuff on that thing than you ever saw. But I've enjoyed, if I had to do it all over again, my time in Korea was TDY, so I don't remember much of that. but I got out in 1952. I'd do it all over again.
Nestled in the shadow of the Great Smoky Mountains, Panther Creek State Park offers a relaxed, beautiful experience for the whole family. White-tailed deers, beavers, owls, and bald eagles bring sharp-eyed visitors an extra special treat while hiking, biking, horse riding, camping, or fishing. Panther Creek State Park and Friends welcomes you to stay with us a while and enjoy the history and hometown hospitality we have to offer. We are located at 2010 Panther Creek Road, Morristown, Tennessee. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Larry Fletcher, United States Army, retired medically, physically, mentally from the, retired Sergeant First Class. Always had at least 15 to 20 men under me to carry on missions from here to there. I'm a Vietnam veteran twice over. We got roped into what they call if you extend, you get early out. Well, we did that and we got tricked. So anyway, we're not draft card burners, and I want to go publicly welcome all my brothers and sisters home. Welcome home. Well deserved. And here comes the lump that we was talking about earlier. I am so proud to be a member and find my fellow brothers in the state of Tennessee, second largest in the Vietnam Veterans of America, which is doggone, we're proud, very proud. Just a little bit about myself. Short, fat, and ugly, can't run no more, can't think no more. Spent, like I say, 2 tours over there. Had some terrible times, and I had some decent times. We always look forward to the boxes from home, the letters, which we got maybe a month out from when they were written. But it was free mail. All we had to do was write free, because we couldn't carry stamps and stuff, like that. But it was cool. So we came home, got all doctored up and everything, joined the National Guard, volunteered to go to Desert Storm. Stayed over there for around, I guess, maybe a dozen to 12, 14 months. Well, that wasn't enough for me. So stayed in the National Guard. We got deployed to Iraq, and we stayed over there. Seemed like close to a year, like a judge would sentence you 1129. So everybody asked me on the back of my colors here, it says Vietnam vet, Desert Storm vet, and Iraq. I just tell them, hey, Fletch just can't get along with nobody. So we have a big laugh about that. But any veteran out there that's listening, if you care, please come and join us. I think you will enjoy the camaraderie and this. We don't dwell on past stories to bring tears to your eyes and everything like that. We want a brotherhood, I guess, to come back together that is a lost art. So if any veteran out there or era that cares to join Vietnam Veterans of America 1073, feel free to come up. We meet the 4th Saturdays at the National Guard Armory in Russellville. And you're more than welcome to come up, take a look around, see what we're about, what we're doing for the community. I think you will enjoy it and be very, very proud, more than what we got when we come home. And I thank you.
My name is Jerry Golden. I was in the U.S. Army from 1966 to 1972. I served in Okinawa, Thailand, and Vietnam, and Fort Riley, Kansas. The best thing that I can recall is the good times that we had in Okinawa, Thailand. We didn't have a whole lot of good times in Vietnam. A lot of guys take trips and go on these excursions back to Vietnam. I have no desire to do that. Veterans are a rare breed of people. We served our country, didn't ask anything from our country, and are getting very little from our country now with the way the VA is.
I'm Robert Russell. I was in the Air Force. Come out as what was an airman first then. It later has now been changed to senior airman. I was in 1963 to 1967. Air Force is the way of getting around the draft. I did not do camping and hiking well, so the Air Force doesn't believe in those things. The 4 years I was in, I served in the AFSC of weapons. I was the one who took care of the missiles, the rockets, and so forth, and the bombs on the aircraft. Stateside, I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina, on the F-101 Voodoo aircraft with the Genie nuclear rocket and the Falcon missiles. I wound up with my last year in service in Southeast Asia. This last month I had it was last month, October. I had a 50-year anniversary of getting off of the plane, seeing the little sign over the door, "Welcome to Saigon." I did not stay in Saigon long. I was back on the plane, moving to Thailand, where I worked on the F-101, F-105 Thunder Chief. Conventional armament. I was the one that screwed the fuses in the bombs, the white phosphorus in the napalm, and I don't know how many missiles I armed and so forth. Coming back from Vietnam and Thailand, encountered a few protesters in California when we showed up at the airport to fly home. But other than that, back home in '67, and 2 weeks after returning, I was back in school at UT, and there was a few protests at the Student Center, but we just walked around behind and let them have their thing. I am very proud of my service. I am very proud of this Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 1073 for what we're doing in the community and for the veteran population in our area. We're trying to do some things to support the community and support our veteran population in the Lakeway area.
Private First Class, Raymond Stanley Rhines, Medical Company, 9th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Division. Private Rhines was taken prisoner of war while tending to his wounded comrades in North Korea on November 30th, 1950, and died while a prisoner. His remains were not recovered. His name is inscribed on the Courts of the Missing at the Honolulu Memorial.